About a week ago, Saturday, we had a memorial service at the John Paul Jones Arena, and many of you watched it on TV or on YouTube. And it was for Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry, and Laval Davis. And his teammates began with giving them tribute. And one of them started his talk about the three wonderful teammates who had been killed on the bus that Sunday before. And he said that he felt like he wanted revenge. He just wanted to go out and do some harm to Christopher Jones. But he said, as he thought about it, he remembered that Devin and Deshaun and Laval were men of courage, men of resilience, and mostly men of love, and that they would not approve his desire for revenge, that they stood next to Jesus in heaven, and that they were looking down on them and wanting them to share love, not revenge or anger or bitterness. And it's just normal for us to want revenge when we have been hurt or someone we love have been hurt. We see red, we want to get it to them as they got it to us. But Jesus is asking us to do what is not normal, what is supernatural, what isn't the regular human thing to do. He's asking us to forgive. And this is something that especially Laval, who was an unapologetic Christian, believed in. Carla Williams, UVA's athletic director, recalled that Laval, who was 6'7", would sit in the front pew, blocking everyone's view, because, as he said to his mom, I just need to get up close. I don't want to miss a word of the sermon. And what he heard up from the sermons again and again, Sunday after Sunday, in Ridgefield, South Carolina, was the message of forgiveness. And we worship a man who died on the cross, an agonizing death, and from that cross reached out his hands and said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And these are the words that he was left with in bless those who persecute you, bless, do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. We are asked to bless those who persecute us. Now, the word bless is over 400 times in the Bible. We're constantly asked to bless one another. That means that God will pour his favor, give us that or that person their heart's desire. And that's very hard to do to someone who's not only, in Paul's words, persecuted us, but actively persecuting us now. Because those words are those who persecute you now. It's the active voice. Praying for someone to be blessed who is persecuting you now. And do not curse them. And that is very hard to do because we are so tempted to gloat and say, you got what you deserve, when someone who has been hurting us or hurting those we love is in trouble or sick or damaged or put down. We love to gloat about it and say, you deserve it. Same that you did to me, you got. But God says, don't do that. Don't curse those who hurt you. Pray for them. And we know that it is a bumpy road, forgiveness, and it goes through the valley of humility, realizing that we are all sinners. As Pastor Brenda has told us often in her sermons, quoting her father, that if you push the right button, anybody can do anything to anyone. And that's true of all of us. We are all sinners. We may not be tempted to take a gun out and shoot someone, but we will put down someone, speak against them, gossip, try to hurt them in ways that are subtle and not known publicly. But we want revenge often, And that is as evil as shooting them, as Jesus said. If he said, do not kill, and he said, even if you speak against someone, it's like killing them. And so we know this, and Eddie Ford, Laval's high school coach, described the giant of a young man as being humble. He said he was the type of kid who let the way he played speak for him. He made a tremendous amount of plays for us, but was not a braggadocious kid. He was extremely humble. And former Virginia coach Bronco Mendenhall, who recruited Laval, said Laval was the first to praise the underdog. Laval was looking for the good and progress in everyone. He always would make sure I or the other coaches would know, you should have seen so-and-so, man. He did a real nice. Laval was always lifting up other people. And we need to follow Laval's example and praise one another, because praise is what changes people. Criticism doesn't help anyone. Telling someone you're wrong, you did something bad, doesn't help change them. But when we praise them, we can do it in a way that encourages change. I know my husband used to say to me when he was exasperated with me, and when I had done something that was destructive or foolish, he'd say to me, Liz, you're better than that. You really care for people. Now act on it. You don't have to behave that way. And every time it worked, I would find myself apologizing and working on my attitude. It wasn't that he said to me, you're wrong and I'm right. He'd say, you're better than that. You're a good person, and I know that that isn't how you want to act. And when we encourage one another, that's what changes people. And Laval was always doing that. He was trying to encourage one another. And it says, he further says, live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. We need to be humble and know that we are sinners, standing shoulder to shoulder with everyone. The foot of the cross is level ground. We're there with murderers, with rapists, with liars, with politicians, with people we wouldn't trust. We're standing shoulder to shoulder because we are all sinners, saved by the grace of Jesus' death. And we know also that we're not to repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. Laval was joined the groundskeepers. Now the groundskeepers was formed in 2020 to help push for racial and social justice on the UVA campus. And in an interview with ESPN in the spring, Laval explained why it was important to be part of the groundskeepers. He said, when I leave here, I just want to say I was part of the change. I took a step forward, changing everything in the right direction. Whatever I can do, even if it's a small percentage, to bring awareness to all the injustice our school has been through, just to shine a light on it, to change it in the right direction. It is a blessing to be part of it, because I know these 4 years are going to go by quick. I sure want to say I took a step forward for UVA. Now, Laval wasn't criticizing being negative toward UVA. He wasn't putting it down. He was saying, UVA, you've been racist in the past. You can do better. You are a better school than that. And I'm going to help you. I'm for you. I'm for the best in you. And this is what he left. This is his legacy, working for the betterment of UVA. And we are all impacted by the institutions around us, by our city and our county and our state and our country, by the police, by the court system, by our neighborhoods, and by our jobs. And we all need to work for change, not to be negative. It's easy to sit and criticize. The city doesn't do anything for the poor. The county has always worked against those who are trying on the margins. But we can be a people of change and say, Charlottesville, you're better than this. Albemarle, Virginia, you're better than this. And that is why we've joined Impact, our 27 congregations that work for social justice in our area. That is why we support their work for affordable housing and for a better bus service now. We're just not going to go and rant and rave about you cannot get anything in this town for a decent rent. We're going to work for it. We're going to help change this. And we are insisting that our city and county put in millions of dollars to an affordable housing trust fund so that they can build new housing and that it'll be available for people making $30,000 and less, not just for wealthy people, but for the hard-earning people, the community people, the people who are our teachers, our fast food servers, our policemen, our groundskeepers, our custodians, all need a place to live in our community. And our bus service is terrible. You have to wait an hour for a bus, and then when you transfer another hour, and it can take the whole day to get back and forth from a doctor's appointment. And this is not a viable system for a city that says that it cares about its citizens. So we can work through Impact to change that. Like Lavelle, we can be for our community, not against it. We can work for positive change. And then the scripture ends with, if it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. And not everyone can accept that. But Lavelle was known for his love for everyone. His teammate, Jared Raymond, said, your love was everlasting. Lavelle, you were the best teammate and friend of us that we could ask for. I hope everyone here today has someone in their life that impacts their life as much as you impacted mine. And this is a man who cared for his community, who cared for his teammates. Lavelle and Deshawn and Devin all were spoken of so highly of their teammates as men of love. But even though they were loving, their love wasn't accepted by everyone. Christopher Jones obviously burned with hatred toward them and resentment, so much so that he shot Devin Chandler while he was sleeping. Now, Christopher Jones is behind bars as he should be, and his life is destroyed. He will spend the rest of his days in prison until the day he dies. And this is a tragedy, and he needs our prayers as much as anyone else. And we can join Lavelle's father, who posted on Facebook this prayer, Lord, please help me. Help me to love the unlovable. And we all have people in our families and friends who have crossed us off the list, who have said, we are unlovable. They will not speak to us. They will have nothing to do with us. I have a member in my family who hasn't talked to me in 3 years. And she just will not respond to telephone calls, to texts, to emails, or to cards, or presents. But I keep trying. I keep sending her Thanksgiving cards, telling her how grateful I am that God gave her to me. I will send her a Christmas present, though she will never thank me or acknowledge it. And I hope that she lives long enough to reconcile. This is our call from God, not to dust off and get rid of the people who don't like us, but to keep reaching out to them, keep praying for them, Keep praying for healing this side of the grave, because it certainly will happen in heaven. But we would like to see it here and now. So Paul says to us, if it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. And this is what Deshaun and Devin and Lavelle did. They tried to live peaceably with all, even though one of their team members hated them so much that he killed them. They returned that with love. And from heaven they are forgiving Christopher Jones, as we need to forgive him. Tony Elliott, the coach of the football at UVA, ended the memorial service with, to everyone here I say, we will turn today's tragedy into tomorrow's triumph. We have a mission going forward, and that mission requires a tremendous amount of responsibility. Amidst the pain and suffering, there is hope. And there is hope, and that hope is in forgiveness. That hope is in us, that we can go forward forgiving those who are murdering other people, who are turning our streets into blood in Charlottesville. The 3 students weren't the only ones to die. There have been shootings on the mall, down on Hardy Drive, on 10th Street. There have been shootings in the whole community, and people are dying on our streets. And in Chesapeake and in Ohio and all over, people are being killed. And we need to pray for their families and also the perpetrators, as Reverend Greg said, because they are people who are hurting, and they are sinners just like us. Let us now pray for ourselves and for all of those who are grieving this Thanksgiving time as we prepare to receive the light of the world. O Lord, you know how brokenhearted Devin, Deshaun, and Lavelle's families and friends are. You grieve with our whole community who's torn apart by the spate of violence that has erupted in Charlottesville and Virginia and in our nation. Give us the strength to go on loving and forgiving Christopher and all the other men who have taken guns and shot out of anger and hurt. Help us to not get bitter and angry, but to reach out with your love to everyone who is devastated by the recent shootings. O Lord, bind up our broken hearts so we can share your love and compassion for everyone. Make us a people of forgiveness as you forgave from the cross. May we continually forgive and pray for those who hurt us, who hurt those we love, who hurt the people in our community. May we be as Jesus is, a loving person, willing to turn the other cheek and to forgive whatever is done out of love for him who died for all of us. Amen.